Heartwarming revelation. Billionaire discovers incredible connection at son's grave with Maid after years apart. The air was thick with emotion as Jack Harmon stepped into the quiet cemetery nestled in his quaint hometown of Vermont. Towers of steel and glass loomed in his mind, but here, among the moss-covered gravestones, the world felt different, smaller, simpler, and painfully rooted in the past. His heart ached as he approached the grave of his son, Toby, a boy who had filled his life with laughter, echoing joy that now felt like an eon away. Jack knelt, the chill seeping into his bones as he traced the letters of Toby's name etched into the cold granite. Guilt crashed over him like a relentless wave. He had become a stranger to this town, to the very boy he once promised to guide. As memories flooded him, Toby's goofy grin, the warmth of a hand in his, Jack felt a raw, visceral pain that came with the loss. Suddenly, he wasn't alone. Maria, Toby's former maid, stood a few paces away, her arms crossed, a storm brewing in her eyes. From the moment their gazes locked, the air crackled with tension. She had been a constant presence in their lives, but now, standing there with a wind-blown scarf and determination etched in her posture, she seemed a world apart. "You left," she spat, each word an accusation but delivered with the kind of pain that cut deeper than any knife. Jack felt his heart clench but also recognized the truth in her words. Maria had battled to survive since he turned his back on their hometown, struggling as a single mother, nursing wounds of her own. "Stay away from here," she added. There was a fierceness that jolted him as she continued, "You abandoned not just Toby, but all of us." Yet beneath her anger swam unspoken grief. He could see it in the way her hands trembled and her voice cracked. Jack tried to defend himself. "It wasn't like that, I was just chasing your fortune." She interrupted, her voice rising with passion. The sounds of children's laughter echoed from the town square, a stark reminder of the life he had left behind. In that moment, Jack realized they were both haunted by Toby's spirit. They began to exchange stories, moments of kindness woven like threads in a tapestry of remembrance. He learned how Toby had cared for her daughter, sharing their toys and brightening their days with unexpected visits. The connection they shared, though built on grief, morphed into an idea. "What if we built a center for the kids?" Jack proposed cautiously. "To honor him." Maria's eyes lit but then narrowed uncertainly. "With what?" "Your oversized checkbooks and grand plans. We need heart, not money." This wasn't just an idea, it was a flashpoint. Their battle wasn't merely about resources. It was about understanding. And Jack felt an unfamiliar urgency swell in him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed filled with heated debates, laughter that danced among tears, and unexpected moments of understanding. Each confrontation stripped away layers of Jack's wealthy facade, revealing a vulnerable soul desperate for connection. Just as he began to feel the warmth of community, he stumbled onto a hidden truth: papers and receipts that showed Toby had quietly supported Maria while he'd been chasing dreams. Shock gripped him. It was an urgent revelation that twisted Jack's perception of his son and left him breathless in the fog of betrayal and new hope. As the full weight of this discovery settled in, Jack faced an uncertain future. How could he reshape his understanding of Toby, and why had he never seen this side of his son? There lingered a question, heavy in the air, as he looked at Maria: could true reconciliation transcend grief and misconceptions? What would they do next? The tangled threads of their journey were just beginning to unravel. Jack stood in the quiet stillness of the cemetery, a whirlwind of emotions swirling around him. The discovery about Toby shook him to the core. His own son had been quietly extending a hand to Maria and her daughter while he was busy conquering the world. It felt as if the ground had shifted beneath his feet. Why didn't Toby tell me? He thought, but the answer was painfully clear. Toby was a sensitive boy, always trying to hold everyone's happiness in his small hands. Now, that same gentle spirit seemed to call out for acknowledgement, a need for Jack to see how far his son had grown even while he had chosen to step back. Maria shifted her weight, her gaze searching Jack's face for understanding. You think just throwing money at this will fix things? No, Jack replied, shaking his head. No, it's not just about money, Maria. I see that now. Around them, the wind whispered through the trees, almost carrying Toby's laughter. The sensation was eerie and comforting all at once. What do we do? Jack asked, the determination in his voice cutting through the silence. We can't just let this fester. We owe it to Toby to do something meaningful. Maria looked at him, her eyes softening a fraction. It starts with listening, she said quietly. Finding out what the kids really need. He nodded, feeling his heart race with a new purpose. They began to brainstorm, throwing ideas around like leaves caught in a gust. A community center. A reading program. A safe place for kids to escape the hardships of life. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a warm orange glow, Jack felt a flicker of hope. This was different from the glossy presentations and high-stakes meetings he was used to. This was raw, genuine. This had the potential to actually matter. Days began to melt into weeks, and as they worked side by side planning the center, an unanticipated bond formed between them. They laughed during late nights spent sketching out blueprints. They found solace in discussing their favorite memories of Toby. It was through this collaboration that Jack started to see glimpses of the man he wanted to become, not just for himself, but for the legacy he hoped to build in Toby's honor. Yet with every step toward reconciliation, the shadows of doubt loomed larger. Jack often found himself haunted by the nagging notion that what they were building might never be enough to fill the void Toby left behind. One afternoon, as they were clearing out an old storage room filled with donated supplies, Maria paused. Jack, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Do you think we'll ever truly understand what we've lost? His heart ached at the weight of her question. Sure, they created something together, but could they ever truly grasp the depth of their losses? He took a deep breath. I don't know, he admitted, but I believe we can find a way to move forward to honor what we lost while embracing what we still have. Maria nodded, and for the first time, it felt like a glimmer of mutual respect and peace flickered between them. But as they left the cluttered room, an urgent message blinked on Jack's phone, an unexpected call from his financial advisor. Jack, we need to talk about the future of your business and your investments. The weight of his professional life threatened to pull him back as he stood at the crossroads of a burgeoning relationship forged by shared grief and a changing legacy. How could he balance the demands of the world he came from with the promise of something far more meaningful? What would he choose as he faced this significant turn in his life? Would he honor his son's memory or return to the life of wealth and power he knew? The answer felt just out of reach as Jack's heart pounded in uncertainty, ready to take the next step but unsure of where it might lead. Jack stood hesitantly outside the little cafe, staring at his phone. The message from his financial advisor still flickered ominously in his mind. He could almost hear the wheels of his old life turning, the whispers of enormous profits and relentless ambition beckoning him back. What if this new path with Maria didn't pan out? What if it all fell apart, and he was left standing in the wreckage, much like after Toby's passing? He shook his head, pushing those thoughts away, and walked inside. The cozy atmosphere enveloped him. It felt different from the corporate starkness he was used to. Here, the walls were painted soft colors, laughter echoed against the wood-paneled ceiling, and the smell of fresh coffee mixed with baked goods filled the air. Behind the counter, Maria stood, smiling as she prepared drinks, her brow furrowed in concentration. Jack approached her, his heart softening with each step. She glanced up at him, and her bright eyes sparked something in him. This was where he wanted to be. Hey, he said, taking a seat at the bar. Hey, she replied, pouring a cup of steaming coffee. Got a minute? I need some help tasting this new gingerbread recipe. That lightness in her voice made him smile. Sure, but only if you share the secret ingredient. Maria chuckled, pouring him a generous dollop of gingerbread latte. He took a sip and felt warmth spark inside his chest. Delicious, he said, nodding appreciatively. You've outdone yourself again. Thanks, but enough about the coffee, she said, leaning on the counter. What is going on with you? I could sense something was weighing on you when you walked in. Jack sighed, the shadows of doubt creeping in again. I got a call from my financial advisor. He wants to discuss my business plans. I just can't shake this feeling that I'm being pulled back into that world. Do you want to go back? Maria asked softly. He paused, contemplating the question. I don't know. It's comfortable, it's what I've always known. But it's not where my heart is. Her gaze pierced through him, urging him to explore his feelings deeper. You have a chance here, Jack. To build something real, something meaningful. Do you want to throw that away? Her words settled heavily in the air between them as if the weight of their conversation had lifted as many burdens as it carried. He remembered those days spent creating plans for the community center, the hope blooming inside him. No, I don't. The resolve in his voice surprised him. But the thought of losing everything I built, the stability, it terrifies me. And what about Toby? Maria's question was gentle, yet it struck him like lightning. Isn't honoring him what matters most right now? He felt a lump form in his throat. Yes. I want to honor him. But what if people think I'm just trying to atone for my past mistakes? They don't need to think anything except for what you choose to share, she said firmly. You're building something incredible out of love. That's all that matters. Jack met her gaze, something inside him igniting. Maybe this was the path he needed to walk, not just for Toby, but for himself. You're right. I can't let fear dictate my path anymore. He could see Maria's eyes brighten, her earlier apprehension slipping away as they both became immersed in shared dreams and hopes. The warmth and connection blossomed between them, anchoring him to this new purpose. Just then, the door swung open. A woman rushed in, her eyes wild and desperate. Have you seen my daughter? She cried, looking around frantically. I can't find her. Jack's heart dropped. Suddenly, the hope they had just crafted together felt fragile in the face of a new, urgent reality. He exchanged a worried glance with Maria. They both knew this was something they couldn't ignore. What would they do next? Could they bring their focus back to the community they were trying to help, or was this a moment that would change everything yet again? Jack's heart raced as adrenaline coursed through him. The cafe's cozy warmth faded away, replaced by the acute tension radiating from the distraught mother. This wasn't just another day, this was a call to action, a chance to step away from his lingering fears and do something meaningful. Let me help you, he said, rising quickly from his seat. Maria was right there beside him, her expression steely and determined. Together, they stepped closer to the frightened woman. What is her name? Maria asked, her voice steady despite the torrent of emotions swirling around them. Emily. She was just here, playing with my husband, the woman replied, eyes frantically scanning the room. But then, she just disappeared. I thought she would come back. Jack felt an urge to comfort her, but he had to focus. What does she look like? Dark hair, about 7 years old. She has a pink shirt on. Tears streaked down the woman's cheeks, a heart-wrenching sight that pulled at Jack's very core. He couldn't imagine what she was feeling. Okay, Maria said, glancing at Jack. We'll check around the cafe, inside and out. We'll find her. With that, they split up, Jack moving toward the door while Maria went inside. He stepped outside, the cool air hitting him sharply. He scanned the street, searching for any sign of the little girl. The bustling sounds of the cafe faded behind him, replaced by the murmurs of pedestrians and distant traffic. A knot tightened in his stomach. "Emily!" he called, adrenaline fueling his voice as he stepped deeper into the throng of people. "Emily, are you out here?" There was no answer. Just the sound of busy city life swirling around him, laughter and chatter blurred by the mounting worry choking him. Jack's mind raced. Is this what being part of a community feels like? Suddenly, it wasn't just about him anymore, it was about the collective, about the urgency to help someone in need. After a few moments, Maria emerged from the cafe, her face a picture of concern. "I checked the restroom and the kitchen. No sign." "What about outside?" "No luck yet," he said, breathless. "But we can't give up." They looked for a few more minutes, calling out, enlisting the help of passers-by who were now joining the search. Faces turned sympathetic, voices came together in a cacophony of shouts for the little girl. Then, he spotted a flash of pink near the edge of the park across the street. A girl sat on a bench, her back to him. "Emily!" Jack shouted again, running toward her. The girl turned around, her face lit by a mixture of surprise and confusion. It wasn't Emily. Jack's heart sank momentarily, but then he noticed a flicker of motion from the side. Another child with dark hair was peeking from behind a tree, smirking as if playing hide and seek. "Emily!" he shouted, relief flooding in. "Come here." The little girl giggled and darted away, chasing a butterfly that flitted tantalizingly nearby. Jack dashed after her, calling her name. This was a glimmer of hope, but it felt fragile. They eventually cornered her behind a flower bed. "What are you doing?" he asked, breathless, trying to sound stern but knowing the laughter bubbling up inside him wouldn't allow it. "Your mom is looking for you. She wanted to take a picture of the flowers." Emily squeaked as she stood, wide-eyed, brushing stray petals from her clothes. As they walked back, Jack's heart felt heavy. He thought of the woman inside the cafe, the worried mother who must be going through the worst moments of her life. This little girl didn't know how close she had come to causing heartbreak. When they returned, the mother was standing at the entrance, a look of pure panic etched into her features. Jack could hardly bear to look at her. He could imagine the fear coursing through her, the dread of losing a child. "Emily!" the woman cried, rushing forward as her daughter bounded into her arms. The two of them clung to each other tightly, tears streaming down the mother's face. Jack felt a swell of emotion wash over him, an emotional release that marked him in that moment. As he and Maria watched, a small part of Jack realized that this was part of building community, as painful and joyous as that was. It was about connection, caring, and the bond forged in moments of crisis. "Thank you," the mother said to them, panting with relief. "We were glad to help," Maria replied softly, glancing at Jack. Jack's heart was still racing, but something in him had shifted. They had come together, turned fear into a collective effort. But as they parted from this mother and her daughter, he couldn't ignore the underlying thought. If this could happen in a heartbeat, how fragile was everything he had fought for with Maria? Could he truly build something enduring, or was it always one moment away from crumbling? It felt like the ground shifted underneath him again, as if destiny had more in store for him, good and bad. The answer loomed as they stepped back into the cafe, ready to confront their next chapter. What awaited them now, he wondered, and would they be ready? As they re-entered the cafe, the comforting buzz enveloped them once more. But Jack felt the weight of the world pressing on his chest, no longer just concerned about the fleeting moments of happiness. He had tasted fear, and it gnawed at his thoughts like a persistent itch. Maria, noticing his distant gaze, nudged him playfully. "You okay, Jack? You look like you've seen a ghost." He forced a chuckle, but his mind lingered on the image of the worried mother and the relief washing over her as she held her daughter. I don't want to let fear dictate our lives, you know." She nodded, her eyes softening. "What we did today mattered. It was meaningful. Sometimes that's all we can hope for." Jack appreciated her optimism, but uncertainty still clouded his heart. The cafe was starting to fill with the murmur of customers once more, laughter punctuating the air like a melody. Yet, despite the hum of normalcy, he felt like an outsider, isolated by his thoughts. They settled back into their booth, the aroma of fresh coffee wafting between them. Jack stirred his cup absent-mindedly, watching the swirling brown liquid. "Do you think we could really build something here? A community, I mean." "Of course," Maria replied, her enthusiasm rising. "We've just started. Each little connection we make counts. Like today people came together. That's how it begins." "Yeah, but what if something happens?" Jack asked, his voice dropping. "What if we lose touch? What if we fail?" "Failing is part of it," she said, her voice steady. "It means we tried, and that's something to be proud of. Besides, we can't control everything. We can only keep moving forward." He took a deep breath, letting her words sink in. She was right, of course. Every moment was a step, every action making a mark. Purpose surged in him as he sat there. But lingering questions hovered in the back of his mind like shadows. As if reading his thoughts, Maria leaned in closer. "Remember when we talked about starting that neighborhood outreach? This could be the beginning. We could work together, involve others, make a difference." He raised an eyebrow, impressed at her conviction. "You really think people would rally around us?" "Absolutely," she affirmed, her eyes sparkling with determination. "People want to connect. They crave that sense of belonging. We just need to keep showing up, like we did today." The possibilities buzzed around him. Could they really inspire others, create a ripple effect? Tears of joy filled his vision moments ago, but now the excitement ignited within him such that he could almost touch it. Before he could respond, the cafe door opened, sending a burst of fresh air swirling through the room. But it also brought a figure that made his heart drop. Standing in the doorway was the woman's husband, the one who had been looking for Emily. Jack and Maria exchanged glances, the playful energy between them transforming to tension in an instant. The man's worried eyes darted around the room, a storm of emotions playing across his face. "Where is my wife?" he called, urgency underlining each word. Jack's heart pounded as he approached the man. "She's just outside with Emily." "They're okay," he assured him, hoping to quell the panic written on his face. The relief that washed over the husband's features was immediate, but then it faltered. "I can't believe it. I lost them, too. I didn't protect them." Jack felt a pang of empathy, it echoed his own inner turmoil. What was it that made some feel adequate while others felt like failures, even in circumstances they couldn't control? "Hey," Jack said, placing a hand on the man's shoulder. "You were there for your daughter when it mattered. That's what counts." As the husband's gaze softened, Jack realized they were all just human beings woven together in this uncertain fabric of life. Every moment of connection had the potential to spark change, lift spirits, and foster hope. But before they could continue their conversation, a piercing scream cut through the chatter. A new wave of panic erupted, and Jack's heart raced again. "What? Now?" Maria whispered, eyes wide with concern. Jack's mind raced with questions. What else could possibly go wrong in this whirlwind of a day? As the distant sound of sirens began to drown out the laughter, one thought hung heavy in the air. If this chaos was only beginning, would he have the strength to face whatever came next? Something told him they were far from finished. The scream echoed like a thunderclap in the cafe, freezing the air around them. Jack's pulse quickened as he scanned the room, trying to locate the source of the commotion. Maria gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. "Jack!" she whispered urgently. He could see groups of people shifting, leaning toward the exit. Curiosity mixed with dread gnawed at him, pushing him out of his seat. He had to know what was happening. "Stay here," he said, though he didn't wait for her reply. He moved toward the door, feeling as if he were stepping into another world. As he crossed the threshold, a chaotic scene unfolded outside. A small crowd had gathered, their faces a blend of shock and fear. Jack's eyes widened when he spotted a young girl, maybe 8 years old, lying on the ground, her mother kneeling beside her, cradling her head in worry. The girl's leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, and tears streamed down her cheeks. "Please, someone help!" the mother cried, desperation choking her voice. "Call an ambulance." Jack surged forward, instinct taking over. "What happened?" he asked, kneeling beside them. "I think she fell off her bike." The mother's voice was fractured, barely above a whisper as she brushed the hair away from her daughter's face. Jack could see the fear in the girl's eyes, a mirror of the distress surrounding them. He felt a rush of adrenaline. "You're going to be okay," he reassured her gently. "Help is on the way." He stole a glance at the growing crowd. Maria stood at the back, her face pale but determined. Their earlier conversation about community flickered back to him. This was exactly what they had talked about, being there for others, stepping up. A few bystanders pulled out their phones to call for help, but Jack knew they needed more than that. "Everyone, we need to clear some space," he shouted, his voice steady. "Let her have room to breathe." Slowly, the crowd shifted. He could feel their eyes on him, some filled with concern, others tinged with admiration. It was as if, in that moment of chaos, he became part of something bigger, a wave of collective compassion washing over them all. "Stay with me," he said to the girl, whose tears were still spilling over. "What's your name?" "Emily," she managed to choke out, squeezing her mother's hand tightly. "Beautiful name," he said, forcing a smile. "Emily, let's think about something happy together. What's your favorite thing about your bike?" The girl blinked, the tension easing slightly. "The blue wheels," she said through hiccuped sobs. "That's awesome." "Blue is a great color," he replied, maintaining eye contact. He could see the flicker of hope in her eyes and felt his resolve strengthen. It was a tiny connection, but in that moment, it mattered. Moments felt like hours as they waited. The shouts were replaced by the wail of sirens approaching, and the air thickened with anticipation. Jack's heart clenched. Maria met his gaze from the sidelines, her eyes filled with a mix of worry and admiration. As the paramedics arrived and swiftly took charge, he felt a surge of relief. He stood up, stepping back to allow the professionals to work. Emily was in capable hands now. But the chaos had ignited something in him, a calling he couldn't ignore. "Jack!" Maria's voice broke through the cacophony as she rushed to his side. "Are you okay? I was so worried." "I'm fine, more than fine," he said, catching his breath. "This just made me realize how much we need to get involved. We can't just stand on the sidelines. We need to reach out to people." "I know. We should start organizing community events, something to bring everyone together," Maria replied, her face lighting up with enthusiasm. But before they could dive deeper into their plans, a man rushed toward them, a look of urgency stamped on his features. "Excuse me. Did you see a little girl in a blue dress? She was with her mother." His voice was frantic. A chill crept down Jack's spine. Another child? Did the chaos extend beyond Emily? Jack's heart raced. This moment wasn't over yet, and he knew they had to act fast if they were to make a difference. Would they have the courage to dive deep into the storm together, to face whatever lay ahead? Jack felt the air thicken around him, the panic of the man hitting him like a wave. He exchanged a worried glance with Maria, who already started scanning the crowd. "Blue dress," Jack murmured, his mind racing. It was all too surreal. "I didn't see anyone else." Maria clenched her fists, determination in her eyes. "What if she's lost? We need to help him." "Right," Jack replied, adrenaline bubbling in his veins. They would not sit idly by while another child was in danger. They moved as one, weaving through the knots of people, their hearts pounding in unison. Jack directed his voice over the murmurs of the crowd. Everyone. We need to look for a little girl in a blue dress. If anyone has seen her, please help us. A few heads turned, eyes wide and concerned. People began whispering, sharing stories of their own children and their worries, the atmosphere transforming from shock to a collective sense of purpose. I'm going to ask around, Maria said, darting off to another group. Jack stayed focused, eyes roaming across the sea of unfamiliar faces. Anyone seen a girl? He called again, his voice rising above the noise. She can't be far. The frantic man beside him was pacing now, clearly fighting back tears. She was right here. My wife was buying coffee. I turned around for just a second. His breath quickened, desperation scratching at his throat. Jack stepped closer to him. We'll find her. Just try to stay calm. What's her name? Lucy, he replied, anguish threading through his voice. Lucy. Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach. We'll look for her. We can split up. I'll go this way, he indicated to the left, toward the row of parked bikes and trees lining the sidewalk. Okay, the man nodded, determination mingling with fear. Thank you. In that moment, Jack felt an unshakable resolve settle over him. They might be strangers, but they were all in this together, united by a singular purpose. The thought fueled him as he broke into a jog, calling out, searching the faces around him. Lucy. Are you out there? He moved down the street, glancing behind benches, looking into shops, and even peer through open doors. As the sun started to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows, Jack's heart thudded louder in his chest. Then, he spotted a flash of blue behind a tree, and his heart stopped. A small form sat curled up, knees hugged to her chest, hidden from view. Jack approached cautiously, his mind racing with hope and fear. Lucy. The girl looked up, her tiny face streaked with tears. I lost my mommy. Relief flooded him. It's okay, sweetheart. Let us get you back to her. He knelt, watching her eyes widen in trust as he reached out a hand. At that moment, a sense of warmth washed over him. Here was vulnerability and connection, a reminder of what really mattered. Helping one another, no matter the chaos. As he led the girl back toward the cafe, the frantic father spotted them and rushed over, arms wide. Lucy. He fell to his knees, pulling her close. Thank God. Jack stepped back, watching the scene unfold. Relief, gratitude, and the sweetness of reunification. It was a powerful reminder of why he had gotten involved in the first place. But as Jack turned to find Maria, something caught his eye. A shadowy figure lingered at the edge of the crowd, watching. It sent a shiver down his spine. Who was that? And why were they here? With questions swirling in his mind, Jack felt the urgency to understand what was happening. Something deeper lay beneath the surface, and he knew their journey was far from over. What would they uncover next? Jack's heart raced as he squinted at the figure standing against the backdrop of the crowd, almost like a mirage. They were too far to make out any details, but something about the way they loomed felt off. Fear mixed with curiosity gripped him. What's wrong? Maria's voice broke through his thoughts. She had returned, a concerned look etched across her face. Do you see that? Jack nodded toward the figure, feeling a knot of unease tighten in his chest. Maria followed his gaze. Yeah, that's strange. We should check it out. They approached cautiously, the air still buzzing with the energy of the earlier crisis. As they got closer, Jack noticed the figure shift, glancing over their shoulder as if sensing their approach. What do you think they want? Maria whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I don't know, Jack replied, unease clawing at him. But it doesn't feel right. The figure suddenly turned, revealing a tall woman dressed in dark colors. She was older, her face shadowed, yet there was an intensity behind her gaze that made Jack stop in his tracks. It was as if she carried burdens beyond comprehension. "Can I help you?" Jack forced a polite tone, masking the rising tension inside him. The woman's eyes studied him with keen awareness. "I'm here for Lucy and for you." Her voice was calm, yet it carried a weight that set his heart racing again. Jack exchanged a glance with Maria. "What do you mean?" "She's in danger," the woman said quietly. "Not just today, but there's more to her story, to your story, than you realize." Maria shifted nervously. "How would you know that?" The woman took a deep breath, her expression softening briefly. "I've been watching over her. I have reasons for being here today, but we don't have time. There are people out there who want to hurt her, and they know more than you think." Panic surged within Jack. "What? Who? Why?" Each question felt more pressing than the last. "Please, let us find somewhere private to talk." She gestured away from the crowd, and Jack, torn between instinct and caution, hesitated. "Is this a trick?" Maria challenged, her body tense as if ready to flee. "No trick," the woman insisted. "Just trust me." Jack's gut twisted. He didn't trust easily, but something in her eyes spoke of honesty. Protecting Lucy was all that mattered. Maybe this woman had answers. "Fine," Jack said, glancing around. "Lead the way." They followed the mysterious woman, winding through alleyways that felt heavy with secrets. The murmurs of the crowd faded, replaced by the echo of their footsteps. An old, abandoned warehouse loomed ahead, its windows dusty and appearing long forgotten. "This is the place," she said, stopping at the door. "We can talk in here." As they entered the dim light, Jack's heart thumped hard in his chest. Shadows danced across the walls, transforming the space into a cold, eerie environment. "Now, tell us what's really going on." Jack's voice shook slightly, the weight of dread coiling in his stomach. The woman inhaled deeply, her expression shifting into something more serious. "You're closer to this than you think. It all started with Lucy, but it connects to other lives as well, and now, it's a race against time." Jack felt the urgency in her tone. He stepped forward, determined. "Tell us everything." In that moment, Jack knew they were about to uncover layers of truth, lies, and connections that would change everything. As the woman began to speak, the shadows around them seemed to close in. What lay ahead could shatter their world, or bring them closer together than they ever imagined. What if all of their lives were more intertwined than they could have ever guessed? The woman's gaze pierced through the darkness as she took a step closer, her presence commanding yet somehow vulnerable. "Listen carefully. Lucy is not just an ordinary girl. She's a key to something much larger than any of us." Jack's heart raced faster. "A key to what? You're not making any sense. Who's trying to hurt her?" The woman sighed, her eyes reflecting an ancient wisdom and pain. "There's a group, a secret society that seeks power through children like her. They believe she possesses abilities that could tip the scales in their favor. They won't stop until they find her." Maria gasped softly, gripping Jack's arm. "What kind of abilities?" "It's a gift," the woman explained. "One ingrained in her bloodline for generations. It allows her to connect with people, understand them in ways we can't even imagine. But with that gift comes a danger, a responsibility. If they catch her, they could use her for their own ends." Jack's thoughts raced as he processed the weight of her revelation. He thought about Lucy, the way she'd smile and the warmth she brought to their lives. The idea of anyone wanting to hurt her twisted his gut. "We need to warn her. She has no idea." "Exactly," the woman agreed quickly, urgency palpable in her voice. "She must be kept safe, and you both will have to help me protect her." "Why us?" Maria's voice trembled, uncertainty creeping in. "What can we do?" Because, the woman said, her intensity growing, you can give her something I cannot trust. You're her friends, her family. You bring a light into her life that's crucial right now. But you must act fast. They're already searching. Jack nodded slowly, feeling the weight of the responsibility settle on his shoulders. What do we do next? The woman stepped back, contemplating. First, we need to find Lucy and get her away from here. We can't let her stay in the open. There's a safe place, an old cabin in the woods. It belonged to a friend of mine. It should be secure. Okay, let us move. Jack's resolve hardened. But how do we know we can trust you? The woman held his stare, the shadows flickering around them. This is bigger than any of us. You don't have to trust me fully, but trust that I want to protect her. Time is of the essence. As they prepared to leave the warehouse, Maria hesitated. What if we're walking into a trap? Jack took a deep breath. We can't think that way. Not when Lucy's in danger. We have to act, we have to trust each other. They stepped back into the cool evening air, feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. With every step, Jack's mind raced with concern for Lucy. The streetlights flickered above them, casting long shadows that felt ominous. Let's split up, the woman suggested, her tone suddenly sharp. I'll take the back streets. You two go around the other side and meet at the entrance of the park where Lucy usually hangs out. It's quieter. Less chance of being seen. Jack wanted to argue but felt a deep urgency push him forward. Okay. We'll see you there. As they separated, fear pulsing in his veins, Jack felt the gravity of the moment. Each detail, each choice could determine Lucy's fate. He glanced at Maria, her face a mix of determination and dread. Stay close, he said, tightening his grip on her hand. They hurried down the street, hearts racing, knowing that the unknown awaited them. They had to find Lucy. They had to save her. But in the back of Jack's mind lingered a shadow of doubt, was it truly safe? And what awaited them at the park? As they turned a corner, the shape of the park came into view and so did a figure standing alone, unnervingly still. Hesitation gripped Jack as he whispered, is that her or is something else waiting for us? As they approached the figure, Jack's heart raced. The shadows played tricks in the dim light of the park, twisting into shapes that excited his fears. But as they drew closer, clarity set in. The form was indeed Lucy, still in her blue dress, sitting on a weathered wooden bench, waiting. Lucy! Jack called, relief flooding through him. She didn't flinch as he stepped toward her, uncertainty etched into every line of her face. Are you okay? She looked small and fragile, her tiny hands clasped tightly in her lap, yet there was a spark of curiosity in her eyes. I was waiting for my mommy. Your mom is looking for you. She's worried sick. Maria interjected, kneeling next to Lucy to meet her eye level. We need to get you back to her. Who are you? Lucy asked, her voice barely above a whisper, glancing between them. I'm Jack, and this is Maria. Jack leaned closer, trying to reassure her. We're here to help you. But we need to move quickly. There are some people who would want to hurt you. At that moment, Lucy's gaze shifted to something behind Jack, her expression morphing from worry to sheer fright. Jack turned, every nerve in his body tightening as he caught a glimpse of the shadowy figure, the woman from the warehouse standing too close for comfort, her eyes fixed on Lucy with an unsettling intensity. Get behind us, Lucy! Jack shouted instinctively. Maria shielded the little girl with her arms, pushing her back as Jack stepped forward. What do you want? He demanded, throat dry. The woman, her otherworldly calm now tinged with an unsettling tension, spoke low. I need her to come with me. No. Lucy cried, her small voice piercing the air. I don't want to go. Jack could see the wave of fear wash over Lucy, and his heart clenched. We're not letting anyone take you, he declared, determination hardening his resolve. "You're safe here with us." The woman squared her shoulders, the urgency in her demeanor intensifying. "You don't understand. They're coming, and if she's not with me, they will take her. They'll use her power for themselves." Jack snapped into action, grabbing Maria's hand to bolster their resolve. "What power? You won't take her anywhere unless you answer us." Lucy, trembling, looked up at Jack. "I don't have any power." "That's just what they want you to think," the woman shot back, voice rising, impatience boiling over. "You need to trust me. I'm the only one who can protect you." "No. We trust Jack and Maria." Lucy shouted, the color rising in her cheeks, her small figure exuding defiance. For a moment, the tension crackled in the air. An unyielding force surged in Jack, igniting a protective fire. He narrowed his eyes at the woman. "If you care about Lucy at all, you'll see that forcible actions will only drive her further away. We can help her together." "I'm not here as an enemy," she said, her voice softer but still urgent. "I'm here to prevent this chaos from consuming her. It's only going to get worse." Jack hesitated, feeling the weight of responsibility crushing him. Everything felt heavy as he faced the gravity of the words. "So, tell us how. Because right now, I only see threats both from you and whatever you've brought with you." The woman stepped closer, her eyes meeting his, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "Meet me at the old cabin tonight. We can strategize. You can protect her and create a real plan, but standing here like this puts you all at risk. Use your connections from the cafe to gather allies." The urgency in her tone held Jack captive, but he glanced at Lucy, her trembling hand gripping the fabric of Maria's coat. "What if it's a trap? What if something happens to her?" "We'll stick together," Maria insisted fiercely. "I won't let anything happen again. Not after today." "You have to trust me," the woman reiterated, voice soft yet commanding. "If you care even a little for her, this is the only way. You're fighting against forces much bigger than yourselves." Jack searched Lucy's eyes, desperate for an answer, a sign that she'd feel secure in taking this leap with him. Finally, she nodded slowly, her small voice barely audible, "Okay, but only if you promise to keep me safe." "We will," Jack affirmed, squeezing her shoulder with reassurance. "We promise." "Meet me there at sundown," the woman said with a trace of finality. "If you're not together, you'll only leave her vulnerable." With that, she turned and slipped away through the trees, leaving the trio reeling in her wake. "Are you okay?" Maria asked Lucy, brushing her hair back from her face. "I'm okay," Lucy replied, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Jack crouched down to her level. "Lucy, we'll protect you. Together, you and me and Maria. We can handle this." The little girl gave a small nod, her trust igniting a flame of hope within him. As they walked back toward the cafe, they moved with urgency, purpose flooding their strides. There was fear simmering just below the surface, but a fierce determination bound them together. "Tonight, right?" Maria said, glancing at Jack. "We need to call some folks. Maybe some of the parents from the cafe?" "Absolutely," Jack replied, excitement bubbling. "We can't face this alone. Together, we can gather a force capable of standing against whatever lies ahead." As the sun dipped, the shadows stretched long, hinting at the approaching darkness. With the weight of the night pressing down, they prepared to face what was unfolding. In that moment, Jack knew their journey was weaving into something powerful. A community stood ready to unite, and as they joined hands, they stepped forward, heartbeats synchronized in defiance against fear, ready to confront whatever awaited them. Even in darkness, they stood as a hesitant yet steadfast force. Perhaps this was the moment where everything shifted. And maybe, just maybe, they could save not only Lucy but each other as well. This became a quest for creation, a chance to forge bonds, cultivate understanding, and ultimately transform into something much larger than themselves. "Let us build a legacy," Jack whispered, knowing deep down that they were just beginning to tap into their strength. That night was not the end but merely the beginning of an incredible journey. With their hearts united, they faced the unknown, ready to rise against any storm ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it's vital to our journey. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this inspiration. True fans understand the power of connection.